Hey everybody, my name is Falk, and today I want to talk about how to approach sound design and how to use it to become a better producer and stand out amongst everybody else. Let's get into it. Now, the reason I think it's important to talk about this is a lot of people don't really see the value in taking a step back or deleting something that you've worked on in terms of sound design and going another route because they are so happy with the fact that they worked on it for so long that then they're like hard stuck on that one idea. So today, I hopefully want to inspire you to just change that mindset, go a little bit deeper, and hopefully improve your sound design in the long term. Especially now with color house, color bass, all of those genres where sound design really is more experimental and not so strict to the rules. I feel like a lot of people probably need to overhaul how they approach sound design. Now, the first big thing to talk about is obviously the fear of losing progression when sound designing. Now, we all know this when you have a sound that's almost perfect and you add just a little bit more things and then it breaks. Now, yeah, it was already perfect. I didn't need to do any more. And I feel like a lot of people get stuck on that. That's probably as good as it can be. But very rarely do they then get the extra mile done and see if they could actually make it better. And they're like, yeah, I'm happy with this. I think it's important not to settle for it's good enough. I think it's more important to settle, oh, I've tried and there's really no way to get better. Let me take a step back and use what was good. So obviously that is only possible if you set up your projects in a way where that is possible. I recommend doing save as just before you make a big major tweak, or when you think, this is pretty good, save the preset as it is now, so that then when you do some more tweaks and you're like, oh, I can't actually get it any better, it was as good as it can be, you can just do either Alt-Command-Z to go back, or you just load the old project file and you'll be back running with the sound that was actually really good. Now, if you're not convinced by that, I recommend you go back half a year, 1 year, check out your older songs. If those songs sound a little bit outdated, that's exactly what you're looking for, because you don't want to be satisfied with the sounds that you have. If you were happy with the sounds that you did 1 year ago and you haven't improved your sound design since then, that's a big red flag. That means you've probably satisfied yourself with the kind of sound design that you do and you're not pushing yourself 10%, 20% extra. Now, a big reason to do save as and go the extra mile is clearly the more you sound design, the better you get. Happy accidents really only happen when you push yourselves to make accidents. Obviously, if you make accidents, there's going to be a lot of bad ones as well, some that don't sound good. That's why you want to save the project, go back, restore your progress. Now, if you haven't taken anything else away from this video, use more save as. It's going to save you, it's going to give you the confidence to try things out and go back, revert to the last save state, like in video games, where you have a save file, an autosave, you go into the dungeon, you die, you're like, let me autosave back out. That monster is there, I remember now, and then you don't die. You can think of it that way because in the back of your head, you won't have that, oh, I'm gonna lose the progress. No, it's saved. I can try things out, I can be creative, and then I can still come back anytime. The second approach when it comes to sound design I want to talk about is experimental sound design versus creating a particular sound. Now, both of these have their values and they're used all the time for all productions, but they should be used in a very different context when it comes to making music. Now, let's explore these two approaches when it comes to learning a new sound. In the beginning, you should probably be doing experimental sound design. In a clean session, with no distractions, no hassles, no things to get done, try things out. Get better at whatever you're trying to learn to sound design. Be quick with your iterations. Move things over, delete things, try again, start over. Things that you can't usually do when you have a big session and you just want to get the track done. Experimenting in the beginning is also very nice because you don't have any mixing restrictions. In a big track, you will already have a few mixing rules set up. Kick sounds like this, bass sounds like this. And if you're trying to sound design on top of that, your sound design is going to have to follow those rules of the track. And even though you might have created a nice sound, if it doesn't fit in terms of mixing, you're probably not going to feel like that's the right sound. And even though the technique might have been right to get there, because of the mixing, it will feel off. But when you've experimented enough and you've found a way to make that sound, you've created your own technique to get to the point where you wanted to get to, and that's where you go back to the big project, use the techniques you learned in the experimental phase, because then there's going to be way less trying things out in the dark and more getting results and good sound design. Now, this may take a while. If you have a new sound design technique that you learned, it's probably not going to work first time. So I recommend when you have an experimental project, go back, retrace your steps, check out why did things work the way they did, and then try to understand the concept behind it. And then you can apply that to other sounds as well, and potentially even, create your signature sound. Who knows? Now, the next big topic is to use sound design to create recognition value. Now, I'm sure you've noticed this if you listen to, for example, a Brooks track, and you may not even know it's a Brooks track. You hear that sound design, very particular way of doing things, very spiry, very just Brooksy, you will know it's a Brooks track, even though you don't know it's a Brooks track. And that is the recognition value that you will want to try to create. You want people to know it's you without them knowing it's you, ideally. Creating recognition value is obviously just an experience thing, the way you get accustomed to your workflow in your DAW, but it's also a post-processing thing. You don't always have to think about sound design as I'm gonna sound design this cool thing in Serum or Vital. No, it's also the way you use distortion. Is there a particular way you use it? Do you always use it after the reverb? Small little details that you may get used to when you experiment enough, you will just keep using because you know they work and you like them, that will create your particular sound. And I think that's even more important, having the overall soundscape of your productions be very similar compared to having just that one bass sound that you always use, because that's obviously gonna limit how much you can do with the music that you're gonna make. Another big thing when it comes to standing out, creating recognition value, is being creative and unique. Obviously, nobody's gonna get famous for using the typical Brooks sound design because Brooks is already using the Brooks sound design, so you're always gonna sound like Brooks. Try to make your own thing, try to be fresh, and in the long term, uniqueness and novelty is gonna win over, I don't even know how to say it, just like old school bad things, sound design. I don't know. The biggest goal with this video was to spark some sound design interest, just get you going on a few sound design ideas. So here's a few ideas that I always use when I'm stuck on a sound or think, what's the last little thing I can do to maybe improve the sound? Switch wavetables. You can always tweak wavetables, put another wavetable in, scroll through, see what happens. Who knows? You can always go back to the old wavetable. Try any weird filters that you haven't used in quite a while. Comps filters, phaser filters, formant filters, reverb filters, whatever. Convolution reverbs kind of filter. Yeah, it's not really built into any plugin, but use filters, just anything you haven't used in quite a while. See what the knobs do, tweak them around. Maybe you get something cool. 90% of the time you probably won't, but what about the 10%? You curious? I'm curious. I kind of want to see. What would the comp filter sound like on this? Now these two almost always work. Automations and vocoding. Just do it. And the last thing, if you really want to go the extra mile, that's helped me a lot, is trying a new synth. For example, I'm a very big Serum user and I don't know how to use Vital, even though they're very close. A lot of things don't work the same way. So sometimes I like to just open Vital and use it, because inevitably, because I don't know how the plugin works, I'm gonna make a lot of mistakes. Weird, workflow things that I'm like, oh, wrong automation for this. And sometimes you get that brilliant thing where like, oh, that is so wrong, but it sounds amazing. And that's that spark that I like to go for when experimenting, and even when I'm producing. I just want to see if I can get that weird spark of sound design. Weird spark of sound design. Yeah. I'm going with it. And that's already it. Very short video on sound design, philosophy, and approaches. And if you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And consider checking out any of these two videos, because YouTube thinks you will want to watch these next. All right. Trust the algorithm, right? See you in the next video. Bye-bye.